Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful like Akim, teaching and preaching this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Just like I saw, today's lesson is entitled Use Wisdom Out Here. Lord willing, you be edified through the spirit, power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, which are the true names of the Heavenly Father and His beloved Son in the Paleo Hebrew. And as always, the sit downs, the lessons, the street speaking. It's for the remnant, the elect, the Israel, the Most High, to use the gospel preached. So today's lesson is centered around using wisdom, which is the information that the Lord Yahweh Shai has given us that's found in the Bible, or the new, the old, as well as the Apocrypha. In fact, Yahweh Shai, one of his titles is the Word, okay? And the Word, Yahweh Shai, all right? He comes in a volume of the book, and this information that you receive from the Proverbs, from the Ecclesiastes, from the Gospels, all right, even wisdom found within the prophecies is going to be very imperative for you to use it in this walk, all right, because we're in the we here in Babylon the Great, where as the prophecies say, you know, we got water and fire on either side of us. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and start there. And you know, this lesson is centered around the recent controversy with the looming racial tensions going on. You know, you had the situation with Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, all right, which you know, he was found guilty for stabbing this dude, all right. And then the situation with the Cyrus Carmack Belton, who was killed by Rick Chow, you know, the Asian store manager, which, you know, as it is written, whoever perished being innocent, or where would a righteous cut off, all right. It's also written that man's goings is of the Lord. How then shall a man understand his own way? You know, a lot of this stuff is judgment. Okay. All right. And you know, Esau, he pushes these out, all right, and order to rouse the people up. You know, Esau wants that racial tension. Esau wants the civil war. Esau wants to take peace from the earth. So these scenarios, it fuels the racial tensions, you know. And you know, first and foremost, we don't get caught up in that, all right, because we understand judgment. All right, matter of fact, I'm just thinking about precepts. Evil man. Let me see. Proverbs. Let's get that. Yeah, Proverbs 28:5. Evil man, wicked niggas understand not judgment, but they that seek Yahweh understand all things, and the Lord put the spirit on us to seek him. Right? So we understand all things. The Lord has enlightened us with this information, this truth. We understand how the Lord judged things. So when we see situations like this, we understand this judgment. You ain't gonna be able to pull no knife out and kill an Edomite and get away with it. All right. Whether you so-called in the right or not, Esau's gonna pull pictures up from your he's gonna find videos and information to criminalize you. All right. Meanwhile, making his counterpart, making his people look well in the media. All right. And then, you know, you going in stores, stealing water bottles and all that, you know, scriptures say thou shalt not steal. All right. So, you know, the Lord gonna, you know, have it to where your enemy will reign over you. But as we understand in Proverbs 28:5, evil men understand not judgment. If you're not in this truth, you're in the world, you're not privy to the secrets and mysteries of Yahweh Shai, you ain't gonna understand these things that happen. All right. But as it says here, but they that seek Yahweh, which is the true name of the Heavenly Father, when you come across Lord, which is all caps, understand all things. The elect understand things. And a part of understanding is We got to use wisdom out here. Okay. You know, yes, we in Babylon the Great. All right. And the Lord has given us this wisdom as a light to navigate here in this darkness. Let's get this in 2nd Esdras 7. It says, and when I had made an end speaking these words, this is Esdras speaking with Uriel, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore, and he said unto me, up, Esdras, and hear the words that I'm come to tell thee. And I said, speak on, my power. Then said he unto me, the sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. This sea is a parable or a similitude to the kingdom of heaven, which is rulership of the Israelites in earth. But put the case, the entrance were narrow and like a river. All right. So to get into the kingdom, all right, the journey is very narrow. Okay, let's look up this word narrow real quick. It says narrow describes something with a small distance from one side to another. All right, you see the example right there. That's a narrow board. It's a broad board. Or something that is restricted in range, scope, or margin. It can function as an objective verb or noun. All right. Restricted in scope, barely achieved. Okay, so the walk to the kingdom requires restrictions. All right. Ruling over your spirit, having control over your tongue. All right. Um, let me see. Having rule over your tongue. All right. So like I'm just thinking about a lot of different things. So once again, restricted in scope. So there's restrictions that you gotta have to enter into the kingdom. And once again, it's ruling your spirit, ruling your tongue, having discernment, judging things, using this wisdom, right? It says, but put the case, the entrance were narrow like a river. All right. It says, who then could go into the sea and look upon it and to rule it? All right, which the sea is something that you rule. Once again, the kingdom. If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? All right, so you have to go through a straight gate to enter into the kingdom. All right, and one of the straight gates that we experience in this truth is ruling your spirit, man. You know, having control over your tongue, because although the tongue is a small member, it can kindle a great fire. All right, and this lesson is to me first, man, because as Babylon the Great is falling, people was experiencing losses, financial losses. All right, so they 401ks is being diminished. All right, jobs is being diminished. Cost of living is going up. All right, talking about an energy crisis. All right, they talking about utility bills is up. You know, home evictions is up. Car repossessions is up. The attitude on people is different, and everybody is seeking some type of comfort and pleasure. All right, all while trying to suppress their demons. So people is walking around just walking crash outs. All right. So we gotta apply this wisdom and understanding so that way we can navigate here. It says there's also another thing: a city is built and set in a broad field full of good, and is full of all good things. This is another parable going into getting into the kingdom. It says the entrance thereof is narrow and set in a dangerous place to fall. That's America. This is a dangerous place to fall, man. All right. Like as if there were fire on the right hand and on the left, deep water. All right. And both fire and water are purifying agents. Okay. And you can die in fire. You can die in water. Okay. And only one path between them both, even between the fire and water, so small that there could be one man go there at once. All right. And although this is a brotherhood, although you got, multiple members of this body, there is an element of you having to be a soldier, you be a solitary, you dealing, you know, you have to deal solo sometimes. All right. And that's where the real, um, that's where the reality really sets in when you solo dolo. All right. When nobody's looking, when nobody's around, all right, you got to apply these principles, all right, in your walk. Okay. You're not just an Israelite when the camera go on. You're not just an Israelite when brothers around. You have to apply this wisdom in and around, all right, brothers, all right, in and outside, all right, even when you in the house with your woman, your children, you gotta apply wisdom there, so on and so forth. So we're gonna get into Proverbs 3:1, or the Proverbs the third chapter. It says, my son, this is King Solomon, all right, which if you can receive it, this is Yahweh Shai breaking us off some jewels, man. Salakia. So it says, my son, member of the hopeful elect, forget not my law. And the law just doesn't stop at the law, the statutes and commandments. Another word for law is instructions. And the scriptures is filled with instructions on how to deal with whatever lot that the Lord has given you in this life. It says, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. So these are the benefits of applying this knowledge of wisdom and understanding. These are the rewards that you get. Length of days, long life, and peace. All right. If this dude, Carmelo Anthony, was this situation, got the black community in the uproar, and y'all not going to do nothing, man. Y'all not going to rise up until Esau take away your finances. Okay. As long as niggas got money and jobs and income and ways to weather this financial storm, you're not gonna rouse up. The Lord gonna make it to where he's finna affect your income. All right. The Lord is finna take away everything. All right. That's when you gonna rouse up. This racial shit, Esau gonna have to come harder than that. Because as long as you got niggas that's doing good, niggas that's cool with Edomites, niggas that's checked out of this society, all right, checked out of politics, and ain't nothing gonna crack off. You may get a little protest that go on a couple of weekends, but that's gonna eventually fizzle out. What's gonna get Jake cracking out here is not being able to feed yourselves. Okay? On top of diseases, on top of war, on top of other racial tensions that will kick off. But continuing on in Proverbs 3, for length of days, long life, and peace shall they add unto thee. If this dude Carmelo Anthony would have applied the principles in the Bible, peace would have been added to him. All right, he would have been able to turn the cheek. And like I said, this is to me first, man. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes out here in Babylon, the great shit get to you, end up saying something, and, now you got to de-escalate the situation and all that. So, you may be at a gas station. Somebody might be, might be in traffic. Motherfuckers got demons on them. And sometimes, just being honest, sometimes you may even react. But this is a reminder. We got to apply the wisdom out here, man. But this information adds long life. This Cyrus Carmack Belton dude that was shot by the Rick Child dude for allegedly stealing some water. All right, he didn't get long length of days and long life added to him. He died at a young age. All right, he was 14 years old. Cyrus Carmack Belton on May 28, 2023, 61-year-old Asian convenience store owner Rick Child shot and killed 14-year-old black teenager Cyrus Carmack Belton in Columbia, South Carolina. Child pursued the teen under the belief that he had shoplift bottles of water. All right, so this dude crashed out on him, up the strap and killed him for bottles of water. All right, and that's how the heathen, all right, feel about you. All right, a bottle of water is worth way more than your life. And of course, during the trial, the defense argued Child acted to protect his son after the teenager brandished a weapon. All right, which South Carolina, you can have a weapon on you. You have concealed carry. Some states you can, you can walk in the store with the gun on your hip or in your hand. All right, but see, in these red states that have these gun laws, all right, them laws really don't apply to you, Jake. Apply to everybody else. And when you have one, all right, these nations, they ready to murder you. They sit up and watch the rap videos. Look what Esau pushes out. They see the rap videos. They hear the drill music. And I'm pretty sure this Asian store owner, this convenience store owner, Rick Child, his son, best believe his son, he listened to the drill music. He loved black culture, but he just hides it from his dad. But anyway, going back to Proverbs 3, in the 3rd verse now. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. These are the principles that you want to apply in your walk. Mercy, all right? Letting shit slide. And truth, this information. Bind them about thy neck and write them upon the table in thy heart. So this stuff got to be embedded in you, all right? Because you're going to need mercy one day. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of the Most High and man's. These are the benefits. These are the rewards of this truth. Trusting Yahweh with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. Yeah, we trust in the Lord by believing and applying the information that we receive out of the book. All right, when you lean to your own understanding, 9 times out of 10, you leaning on your emotions. How you feel at that moment, okay, which leads you to these scenarios. Peace being taken away from you, you in jail, or your life is cut short. The reason why the county jails and the prisons and the federal prisons is filled with Israelites is because they was faced with a particular scenario, particular situation. They went off their feelings and emotions, and it cost them their life. It says, in all thy ways acknowledge him. Yeah, because the Lord incorruptible spirit is in all things, man. You can see the Lord in everything. And he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thy own eyes. Fear Yahweh and depart from evil. Yeah, in your own eyes. Like I said, normally when you wise in your own eyes, you're going off of your emotions. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. Honor Yahweh with thy substance and with thy first fruits of thy increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with wine. So the Lord, you honor the Lord with your substance. You help out brothers if you got it. All right, and it's not always money, it's conversation. Brother might be going through things. He may need a word, he may need a precept. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord will take care of you on the back end. All right, but the point is, there's rewards with applying this wisdom. And one of the rewards is length of days, long life, and peace shall they add unto thee. As a Babylon the Great, which America go down, people, we finna see the true spirits on people. Once people aren't able to, financially weather this storm, once people see that, look, things ain't changing for the better, once people see that the president isn't changing America around for the better, and that war keeps increasing, the prices of food is going up. All right, people is finna change out here. Let's go into Matthew, the 24th chapter. Start at 11. And many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. We see that now, especially on the internet, whether it's podcast niggas deceiving people with another way, you know. I'm thinking about that dude, Coach Greg Adams. He puts the vibration of bossing up and get your money up and, fly and tour the world, go to these different countries, experience life. But, hey, wherever you go, the curses is linked to you. All right. And that's not salvation. Running up the bag and just touring the world. Coach Greg Adams is on the level because of the people that follow him, support him. All right, regular nigga that's out here, all right, trying to figure things out, all right, that's not going to work out for you. And then you got the false prophets, your Vocab Malone, even amongst the circumcision, groups like IUIC, not preparing you for the mark of the beast, which is the implantable technology, all right? You got other camps doing debates. That's not the spirit to be in. All right, so you're going to have a lot of false prophets deceiving many. Here's a point. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So sin or iniquity is going to increase. There's going to be a lot of thefts, a lot of home invasions, especially when the energy crisis come. All right, people not able to fill up their tanks, put gas in their cars, provide for their family. All right, a lot of wickedness is going to increase. As it says here, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, when you go into this word cold here, goes back to the Greek word psycho. It says of waning love. Waning means to go down, a decrease in love. All right, and us blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as Israelites, we're targets here, man. So these heathens is gonna want to crash out on you. These heathens is seeing how America is changing for the worse, and it's not getting better. So in order to make them feel good at night, in order for them to sleep well, feel good about their position in this society, they got to see Israelites fall. All right. All right. Which, like I said, you up in the knife on the Edomite, man. You ain't getting away. You should have just threw the hands. You feel me? And a bottle of water, man, you could have just found a goddamn water hose and drunk some damn water, dude. All right, but the point is, applying this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding will give you length of days, long life, and peace, especially now as the love of many is waxing cold. We seeing the attitude and the temperament of people changing. All right, and it's going to get worse because the prophecies speak about how there's going to be insurrections, uproars. All right. Racial tensions, civil unrest. This is Isaiah 19:1, the burden of Egypt. When you go into this word burden, it speaks to prophecies. And this Egypt is speaking about America. America, which is Babylon the Great, is also known as spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So this chapter goes into prophecies concerning America. It says, the burden of Egypt, behold, Yahweh will ride upon a swift cloud, so-called UFO, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. When the Lord make his return, all right, it's going to bring the vibration of this place low. People's going to be terrified. Here's the point. And leading up to the destruction, second verse, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Hey, these Edomites, they're gonna go against each other. Because these Edomites, they are wise as Daniel. They know particular things. They seeing how their government is switching to a technocracy. They seeing that, look, Esau, their elites, all right, they're seeing that, look, they trying to transition this system. They trying to go to all digital. They trying to tank this economy. They trying to collapse the stocks. So a lot of these Edomites, they're against each other. And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So, part of end time prophecy is that, you're going to have these social unrest, these civil disorders, these uproars, all right? And people going to fight against each other. But, hey, we set up to wait until the Lord raise up on the prey. Let's get this over here in Zephaniah. Zephaniah 3:8, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, unto the day that I raise up on the prey. See, the Lord is going to fight our battles for us. All we got to do is teach and preach and believe and endure unto the end. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation. So the Lord is, his determination, his will is to gather the nations, to assemble them in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is there in the Middle East, to bring judgment during World War III, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. And this speaks to the second death. So we ain't raising up. All right, the Lord gonna raise up on us. Raise up for us. All right, but let this be a reminder that the energy of the world is shifting. All right, people is angry, people is vexed, people is ready to crash out. And as we get closer and closer to the end, the best thing that we can do is to wait on the Lord and apply this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Lord willing, you're edified. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us the truth. Stay watching, Akim. Shalom.